Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. And I am I'm co-founder of Constellation. And today I'm going to be presenting a review of 2019. It's been quite an exciting year that started out where it was the blackout period. I think somebody coined it in the community, where we were extremely silent. And we're ending the year in such a positive place. And there's a lot of excitement, a lot of energy in the entire community, as well as the entire space or industry of blockchain. So today I'm going to kind of walk through kind of a recap and review of what 2019 was about, and kind of articulate who we are as a network and how we identify internally and to various partners. And then I'm going to recap with where we've gone in the business and then where we're going. And I think you're going to have a really exciting time just kind of listening to everything that's happened and being able to reflect yourself on the journey, whether you have just come into Constellation and are seeing the vibrance of the community, or you've been on board since we first started in 2017. I think you're going to find this as a very exciting chapter of Constellation, the chapter of 2019, the chapter of a foundational year where we put all the pieces to work and laid the foundation of this beautiful house that we're building, while we enter and usher in 2020 as a year of growth, where we really capitalize on all the foundation that we built, and we're able to ride this amazing wave. So let me begin. So the way we define Constellation is a network of data governed by users, by you. And I think this is a very powerful statement, as this is the statement of Constellation. We are, first and foremost, a network that's created by the community. And we see a huge opportunity that a network governed by a community means that we set new standards and responsibilities around how we govern data. And so what we provide to enterprise or public sector clients is the ability to address threat vectors. So looking at mission critical data and looking at security around data, especially as it pertains to initiatives in IoT, AI, data transportation, really the movement of data from one system to another. There's so much room for security hacks. And Constellation's focus is to really address those various threat vectors. And the way we do it and how we do that is we provide developer tools and solutions that are compatible with big data systems that are already being built and are already in existence today. And what we add to our the developer suite is to add security across those data management solutions. And so breaking back down Constellation in 3 bullets, is really we're a global network of users, and we're going to highlight that in a little bit. We're compatible with existing data infrastructure tools. So this is our application, is being compatible with existing solutions, not being isolated in a separate network, but being able to plug into existing tools. And then we already have had leaps and bounds over this year as being one of 2 blockchain companies to ever sign a deal with the United States Air Force and DoD. And that is a very exciting claim, where we've had the United States Air Force tweet about us. We've seen them provide validation to our community. But most importantly, we're the only protocol that is working to address what the United States Air Force sees as 20% of their big initiative, which is big data. And then working with other companies like StackPath to commercialize the adoption of these alternative networks that can add security to edge computing instances. So the first thing I like to do is when I talk with somebody, is talk about why now? Why does blockchain matter? Why are we so concerned about security? Well, the interesting thing to note is that 80% of the world's data was created in the last 2 years. And cybersecurity and IoT solutions were created, or these companies and these industries were created 20, 30 years ago. And that infrastructure is really antiquated and hasn't anticipated the growing demands of tomorrow. And thus, we're leaving this whole new spectrum of hacks of today and hackers of tomorrow, rethinking how we hack and alter the security of literally 25 billion devices coming online by 2025. And you know what that breaks down to is about 4 devices for every person in the world, creating about 1.7 megabytes of data every second. And this, you know, we're seeing this, that in the US alone, that there's really $3 trillion in damages caused by bad data. And yet we're ushering in a world of AI-driven results. Everything's AI. Your thermostat connected to your microwave, connected to your car, connected to your watch, telling you how you're feeling and being able to plug in your entire house and radio. We've entered this world of connectivity, and we have to stop and start to think of what this means in terms of our security. And so the market opportunity that we really identify here is not just big data, but really kind of the intersection of cybersecurity and how cybersecurity impacts artificial intelligence. How does it impact, you know, the $40 billion big data industry? And how does it impact the public sector, where the public sector is primarily focused on the community welfare and protecting individuals, where mission critical or threat vectors are of the utmost importance and supersede monetary incentives. And so the way we look at that is that big data is, and what we've coined Constellation as being the blockchain for big data, but really we're cybersecurity that overlooks the impact of big data on all these various industries. And really, if we take a moment to kind of reflect, like, what does it mean to be big data? Well, big data is really all the data that's being created by devices, sensors, Twitter posts, your watch, your biometrics. And where does the security exist? Cybersecurity, as we know it, is an evolving industry, and all these industries are being disrupted today. And Constellation is kind of the intersection of all of these major touch points in markets. But talking more specifically, what are these problems that we're seeing today? And while I can sit here and say that 80% of an data engineer's time is spent cleaning data, and data is costing the US $3 trillion every year, really what matters is kind of baking in a worldview of the problem that we're going after. Data and looking at metrics is not enough. It's good, but when you talk about the real problem, I want to share a worldview. We look at a world of centralized data management today. We store data in centralized servers. Yes, they're on the cloud, but they're centrally owned, and this presents new threats to how we transport and sell data. Every company in the world is selling data or giving data to somebody else, whether it's an analytics company or it's a third-party vendor to do ad trafficking and analysis, or it's to store that data. That data is always moving all the time, and that when it's in movement, it's presenting threat vectors. And thus, we don't really know the threat vectors of tomorrow. We're starting to see what it means to see what a data breach is. And data breaches around hacking of personal identifiable information is costing billions of dollars to company, but we're still at a point where we don't know what the economic impact is, the broader economic impact of a world governed by data. Not only ourselves and our cars, but how we make daily decisions, how governments make decisions are impacted by all the data that's being collected. And existing blockchain technology or distributed ledger technology to date has really only secured ledger balances. So looking at a ledger balance and securing that ledger balance. And it hasn't actually addressed cryptographically securing data, because ledger balances are very binary, they're very simple. I have so much in my wallet, and you have so much in your wallet, and we are able to exchange. But when you start to look at multiple aspects of a data schema, the complexity is exponential. And so when you look at the complexity of these data, we start to look at what are major threat vectors in the world. So if we look at a smart city in this slide, for example, every building, every device that's communicating with one another, a smart building evaluating the energy utility and connecting to the front door, all the way to that information going back to sewers and water utility. We start to create this holistic view of what a smart city is, a smart city exchanging data between various devices. And this compounds the threat vectors that we can spoof or tamper data at any one of these devices, or even spoof data on transit. And some of the impacts, we don't even know what it's going to look like. And if you don't detect tampered data, this is going to have compounded impacts upstream that may or may not be fixable and may or may not cause complete economic collapse. And this is a magnitude that we can't even imagine. So going beyond just the market opportunity, look at what is the impact. We can't even foresee what kind of economic deconstruction could occur with tampered or bad data. And there's a huge opportunity for Constellation to really solve this. And a lot of Constellation's solution as we go into, well, how do we get started? How does the developer get started in protecting a smart city? Well, every device creates a data pipeline. And basically a data pipeline is, if you're going to collect data, you have to create a pipeline of data. And it starts at the very orange, where it's data engineering at its core, which includes preparation, it includes collection, it includes collecting data schemas. And then further down the pipeline, you look at data preparation. Okay, are we cleaning that data? Is it pre-processed and organized correctly, so that then in the third stage, analytics, we can then put it into analytics and algorithms. And so where Constellation really fits in is we append our solution at the earliest point of a data pipeline. Then we provide an easier way to pre-process data and organize it. So then you have validated, you have integrity with your data that then can go into analytics and AI. And a lot of people don't want to focus on that 2/3 because it's complicated. It's very, very difficult. But that's where Constellation's finding itself, so that we can create a secure data pipeline as data goes into AI and machine learning. And so getting into the nuts and bolts of what Constellation is, we start to look at the problem for developers. So why would a developer actually use this? We get the macro perspective, but developers inherently want to use solutions that are compatible to the tools that they've used in the past. So Constellation is focused on using a type class, orchestration or user interface to direct behaviors of data. And what our core competency is around that pre-processing layer. So one of the interesting things that Constellation's built, and one of the aha moments that we're trying to share with everybody, is that our entire network, the DAG network, the directed acyclic network, this graph that you see, which is basically the architecture of how you organize data, and using topologically ordered data allows us to create a more secure infrastructure, a more secure distributed infrastructure for big data usage. So when a developer uses our type class user interface, they're able to instantly plug into a network that's already been pre-processed and organized, that we pre-process data and they can plug into our network and instantly connect into a network that organizes data in a topological way so that they can test out what they're building. This essentially removes a ton of the expensive and complex data transformation pipelines that most data engineers have to build. And this is where a lot of time is spent with data engineering. When we talk about cleaning and organizing and parsing data, this is exactly what we're talking about. So our goal is to really create an isolated that lets data scientists simplify their complete data lifecycle and use open networks to instantly create actionable data. This will remove tons of time. It will create a secure path for data engineers and allow data engineers to go back to what they do best, which is the science around data. And so in order to build a successful open network of actionable data, we have to have a network, and that's where Constellation's network is. And that's why we say Constellation is a network of data governed by users. Without our open network and our vision of making these developer tools, we have to have nodes distributed across the world. We have to have a distributed network. And this is where you all come in. And this is how powerful a community is. This isn't just about distributing validated rewards. It's about being a part of an open network of data shared by everybody, validated by everybody, governed by everybody, not just the Facebooks and Googles of the world, but you all have an opportunity to play into this evolution of how data standards and governance. And so over the past year, to build out our hypergraph network, we've had 750 node applicants apply today. This is amazing. By the end of 2020, we're going to have about 1,000 nodes totally onboarded to make up our entire network. And over the course of the next year, we'll be distributing well over 1 billion validator rewards to everybody that makes up our network for validating transactions, for earning reputation, for being a benign actor and active participant on the network. And this has been across 92 countries. So it was absolutely amazing to all of us when we saw 92 countries represented across 750 applications. And this truly kind of incited a true love for what we were building. We saw the love by you all. We have the love, obviously, but this opened up a spark because this is the network effect you have to have in order to have a successful network. This is how you build an open network. And we have the viral components of being successful. We have the network effect in our labs. And you all have made that possible, and you all have expressed your intention and aspirations on why you want to be a part of this network. And it presents so many unique opportunities that we don't even know, but we know we have people interested and excited. So thank you. And furthermore on that thank you, what does it mean to be a community? Yes, you're a node operator and people are becoming node operators, and they build out this network that's going to validate all the data connected from all the tools that we built and made it easy for developers. But our community is the heart and soul, and you've created the entire impact of Constellation. You've made Constellation. You are the decentralization that exists, and that is so powerful. But at the same time, we're having fun. We're also educating others. And we're providing regulation and policy so that we have a successful network for decades to come, decades and decades to come, that we create that new internet that we've always envisioned. And so what we've shown here is some of the memes and graphics that people have made that have really just kind of captured our hearts and made us laugh and made us enjoy what we do and who we do it for. We work for the community. We work for you all. And that to us is very exciting. And it's fun, it's fun for us to see when the meme comes up of me typing, because everybody knows I'm overly verbose and articulative. We see that, and then we look at some of the beautiful designs that people have made to show their confidence and support in us, all the way down to our community is helping us build out presentations. Like this presentation was made by DAG Headroom. Our mobile wallet, or our desktop wallet, Molly is being built by Vito. Like this, the community is building Constellation. This is decentralization activated through open innovation, meaning how do we incite innovation in an open network? It's happening already, and we're giving that freedom to redefine what Constellation is. And while we set the tone, ultimately the community is deciding how built, what, why. So things that we are focusing on over the next year is the Stardust Collective. The Stardust Collective is a collective that is focused on creating educational materials for the broader community, and inspiration and videos that articulate what we do and why we do it, the impact. And I'm working very closely on that. They're also going to provide funding assistance for companies that are looking for funding in DAG to build out applications on the network. Part of there's a tax that goes to all validators, and that's where the tax goes, is being able to articulate what we're going to build. Governance, this is primarily led by Matthias and a few core individuals, about 25 people writing the regulations and policies and taking votes on how they want the community to unfold and how they want the governance to unfold. And then the broader community is responsible for open innovation and providing influence and spreading the word. So everybody plays a key role in Constellation. But we can't, build this without our DAG token and our currency that we've built. And we can't take but a moment to look at, how critical it is and how essential DAG is to our ecosystem. While it is exchanged on 6 exchanges, we are still very small. Over the last year, we've had a lot of growth happening. We started the year at $1 million market cap, and we're ending at roughly a $17 to $20 million market cap. We've created a total supply of $70 million in value, and with roughly about a 20 million circulating supply. We're still very small, but we've had an amazing year that we all need to take back and celebrate. That's a 17x increase in roughly 6 months. Like, you all are a part of that, and that is fascinating to see the fruits of your labor. It is in fruition right here. Your labor, your work, your passion, your participation, all kind of transcends a price, but it is a way to look and go, wow, what we're doing is right. It's on the right track. And our business model as such is broken down into 2 components. One, the token model, which our token is used to secure throughput on the network. And number 2, it's to purchase and charge for validated data. So and various engineer could use a validated data set on a state channel and plug it into their AI to enrich the AI. AI constantly needs data. It needs enriched data to be smarter, faster, and better. And our revenue model that we're exploring with enterprise partners is focusing on a SaaS-based business model, doing a flat fee that bakes into an event-based pricing model or hosting model. And thus, all revenue that's secured there will translate into DAG. We'll be doing the kind of the brokerage of USD into DAG. And so what you see in this diagram is how one client would actually purchase or ingest data into the Constellation hypergraph, and that validated data then creates an immutable audit trail that the client can then use to make sure that things are working correctly, that they trust that the data wasn't tampered, right? And then they have the option of selling that data and integrating that into an AI application. So they can purchase an enriched data, a piece of data, and enrich their data set from that enterprise client. And then maybe an application takes all that data and they've got this amazing use and enriched data set that they then want to sell on the hypergraph network. And then you kind of have this full circle that enterprise client might actually go back to the hypergraph network and purchase that enriched data set that's been amplified from their data. And this is kind of the life cycle that we see and how the token is going to be used in the business model. And one thing that we've never really done is provide a simple way to compare what we've built compared to other technologies in blockchain, but also centralized data management companies like MongoDB and Databricks. And so we created this chart around where on the y-axis you have decentralized and centralized, and on the x-axis you have not scalable, no developer support, and Bitcoin being on the far left, but scalable application support, and Constellation being right in there with ecosystem provides application support, so providing the ability for developers to use. And the mirror image of us is MongoDB and Databricks, large companies that are building data management solutions for big data infrastructures. And so we're like the mirror to them. We are the compatible component. And so how do we do this? Well, I like to break things up very simply. And I break them up into how we approach business, because these 4 pillars become our pillars of business. The first pillar is academia. This is where we get peer validation. We're working with Portland State University. Benjamin Diggle sits on the board. We're also working with a group called Mousebelt University, which is an aggregation of various universities that are all dedicated to providing research and solutions around blockchain. So that's our peer validation. On the business side, working into the public sector, really the use case there is security. So addressing threat vectors, working with the United States Air Force and the broader DoD around multi-domain command and control use cases. So moving certified data across certified or classified data over unclassified open networks, and working with Decisive Point as trusted advisors, kind of helping us navigate the entire DoD. And as we move into our third pillar, the private sector, this is more opportunity and future-based. The opportunity of autonomous vehicles sharing cars or data marketplaces existing. We're still looking at the forefront of monetary opportunities to upsell clients, very different than the public sector. And the fourth pillar, which is very important to us, is being able to work with projects that are also leading that 3rd generation blockchain. These are emerging platforms and focused on innovation, being a part of Hyperledger, Quant. We wrote a very detailed paper articulating our ambitions in working with Quant. We also wrote a very detailed paper working with Chainlink, and these are all kind of helping us navigate the blockchain industry and working with key decision makers in private markets around blockchain solutions. And so the use case, as we've talked about, zeroing in on our major use case that we like to reiterate all the time, is the United States Air Force. And what we're working with them is transmitting classified information over unclassified information networks. One of the big things that they're focused on is anti-spoofing mechanisms across big data. The US Air Force produces 2,000 terabytes of data every second, like an astronomical amount of data that we can't really even comprehend. And they're trying to think of, how do we organize it? How do we clean it? How do we protect it? And how do we make it interoperable so that we make really quick data-driven decisions, whether it's in the field and being able to connect, airplanes with soldiers, will help us save lives across military as well as civilians and being more accurate. And we already have a letter of support. Working with the government for three months now, we've already got a letter of support from the AOC, the Air Operations Center, which is really responsible for mobility as it pertains to the DoD, not just the Air Force. So this is very big. They've already validated what we're doing, and they provided a stamp of approval, which allows us to go to other divisions in the DoD and talk to them freely that there has been some sort of peer validation. And so to really kind of capture the momentum and get towards the end of this presentation, I want to just take a moment to reflect on where we've started and where we've gone. And what you see in the blue line is our Twitter growth. And I think Twitter growth is very important to chart, because this shows the sentiment and our ability to reach individuals. This shows kind of our impact in a social way and how our message is getting distributed. In 2017, we created the company. We call this the creation year. And at the very end, we formed the company. And in 2018, it was really about expanding the idea. This is the year of ideation. And we didn't see a whole lot of growth on our Twitter feed. But we saw some momentum. We saw early indication of a network effect, and that came in through our token presale, our DAG distribution, being an early member of Mobi, being an early member of Hyperledger, excuse me, and set the actions it mean? What are people doing? What are the mistakes of other protocols, or where have other blockchain sandbox environments kind of fallen short? And then as we head into 2019, or last year, we had incredible developments, not only going from $1 million market cap to nearly a $20 million circulating supply market cap, or $70 million total supply. But we also produced a transportation demo of a private DAG. Our private permission DAG network was created back in March, and we showed a live demo of recording long data onto a DAG. We have a great YouTube video that really kind of started to put more eyeballs on what we were doing, that this was actually real. We were driving a car and recording data on a distributed network that we had built. And then we've made incredible market development with the US Air Force, as well as Stack Path, Decisive Point, already navigating the DoD with a letter of support, and working with Mouse Belt University in Portland State University. We have so much momentum going in that it allows us to open up the door to 2020 as the year of growth. And we've got a lot of announcements coming in January and February, not just around our mainnet swap, but really around more partnerships that we're so excited, and we'll show how we're compatible with existing data management structures. And we've ended this year as so strong, 800,000 impressions. At the beginning of this year, we were actually losing Twitter followers, and now we're gaining roughly 500 to 1,000 followers on Twitter every month. And we saw really kind of a cap or a max of 800,000 impressions. We know what we're doing. We're excited to see this roadmap really kind of play out, and see this year of usher in a year of growth, where we know how to take what we've built from the foundational year and build on top of it with strength and confidence and support. And as you know, our leadership goes without saying that Wyatt has been heads down in building something so visionary and so beautiful, that he's one of the most unique individuals that are navigating a team of 5 dedicated engineers that are top of their game. And Benjamin Diggle is driving business development growth and being a leader in his community in Portland with the Portland State University. There's all the way to Matthias and navigating the crypto communities and the financial markets, and kind of helping people understand commercialization of cryptocurrency. We've really laid the foundation with an outstanding leadership team that I'm humbled and honored every day to work with, and I learn something every day. And it's so much just to say, like, oh, you always want to work with people smarter than yourself. And I have that privilege of everybody brings something unique to the table in terms of our leadership and the broader team of Constellation, and a few advisors that have really helped us get us through this year, that I want to really kind of bring credit to. Rick Marini, who's built a fund of funds called Protocol Ventures that works with a fund of funds in the crypto realm, and has made introductions to many of the huge cryptocurrency funds, and was a successful founder, having raised over $49 million with Branch Out and having it acquired. he becomes a close friend and advisor. Jacob Mullins, a partner of Shasta Venture, leading emerging platforms, has a vision for all this and is an active participant in our governance channel. Bharat Vasan, who is one of my closest and dear friends that until recently I haven't really been able to articulate his involvement with Constellation, but he is a close trusted advisor around building company culture and building a sound narrative and understanding how that narrative grows into a business, and having sold the first health monitor watch called Basis to Intel. He sold a company called August, which is home automation locks, last year. And he was formerly the CEO of PAX Vape Pen, where he raised about $420 million. Reihito Hatayama is a close friend. We've done an interview as well. I've traveled through Japan with him. He was the former CEO of Sanrio, also CEO of Sanrio, which is Hello Kitty, where he used open innovation to launch take Sanrio from negative $320 million to $6.9 billion in revenue over the course of 6 years. He sits on Line Corp, which is one of the most popular apps in Japan. He also sits on the board of DNA, and he is a partner at Sozo Ventures. So I can't thank you enough for an incredible year. It's been awesome. It warms my heart. I see personal messages come through every day. I get DM'd every day with these very heartfelt messages that ask nothing from me in return or from our team. And it's what keeps us going. You all are critical to what we're doing. As I said, Constellation is a network of data governed by users. That is the first thing we lead with when we talk with anybody. And we wouldn't be around here without you. So I can't thank you enough for believing in us and continuing to stay with us and provide that support. So we've got a lot in store for 2020, and I'm excited to share it with you all. Thank you so much, and have an incredible New Year's and holidays.